At the heart of the city stands one of the most Kenyan iconic buildings, but one that few bother to visit. To some, the Kenya National Archives and Documentation Service is more of a landmark, meeting point, or yet to others, a place where old things are kept. Granted, the building is a national monument. It was constructed in 1930s in place of a tin shack that housed the First National Bank of India. Decades later, the building was acquired by the Kenya Commercial Bank. It was KCB that popularized the area that is still known as Commercial. From his expansive office in the building that is now occupied by the Archives Director, John Michuki, who served as the bank's chairman, oversaw construction of the new Kencom building across the street. The National Archives Department, under the Ministry of Sports, Culture and Heritage, is the custodian of all government records, vital corresponding dating back to pre-colonial times, as well as the writings by the past 4 presidents are stored here. A large portion of the building is also dedicated to historical artifacts donated by the Kenya's second Vice President, Joseph Murumbi. Handwritten notes of the Kenya's prominent leaders give insight into the thinking process of the men who had larger-than-life profiles. For example, the former President Daniel Arap Moi's strict Christian character comes to the fore through a handwritten note that was found in one of his Bibles. It reads, step by step, I will follow Jesus every day, all the way I will follow Jesus. A look at the founding President Jomo Kenyatta's signature will reveal similarities between his and that of his son Uhuru Kenyatta. In the building too is the history of Mau Mau, the armed group originally made of landless Africans from central Kenya and that gave the well-equipped British Army a run for its money. So sophisticated was the group that it mastered the art of making its own rifles, much to the consternation of the colonialists. A visit to the archives will also debunk the myth that the Mau Mau insurgents was largely a Kikuyu affair. For example, Agwin Skodhek, the first African barrister in Kenya, used his legal expertise to defend the Mau Mau. Musila Musembi, who served as the director between 1975 and 2004, says because of the bitterness between the freedom fighters and the British, there was no way the latter would have handed incriminating evidence to the new government. Still, Musembi says whatever material is archived at the building is worth a visit and decries the ignorance among Kenyans on the importance of the National Archives. Are there items that the archives would love to keep? Yes, including some of the key items used by the former President Moi, such as the famous Rongo. The director of the National Archives, Mwangi, says that the service will try to engage the family and see if they can release some of the items that were associated with the late president. It is pity that the building is often visited by the foreign researchers who go on to produce powerful literary work that could be produced by our own people. The archives help us to know where we have come from and where we are heading to as a nation. Reporting from Nairobi County, Dominic Moura, Citizen Digital.